If you want to get the most out of Christopher Nolan's Odyssey without avoiding major story spoilers, then here's everything you need to know beforehand. It's based on one of the oldest stories ever told. The movie adapts Homer's The Odyssey, an epic poem written around the 8th century BCE. It's considered one of the foundations of Western storytelling and has inspired everything from like Star Wars to even Oh Brother Where Art Thou, which is pretty crazy. The story begins after the Trojan War. Think of it as less as a war movie and more as an epic survival adventure. A psychological journey, a story about home and identity, and a father trying to return to his family while also his son is trying to find his father. You don't need to know the Trojan War, but it definitely helps before going into the movie. So let me recap a little bit. Greece and Troy fought for 10 years. The Greeks finally won using the Trojan horse, one of history's most famous military deceptions, like we all know about that. Odysseus was the mastermind behind that plan. Everyone else gets home fairly quickly. Odysseus doesn't. And that's the father, Matt Damon's character. His trip takes another 10 years, and that's the whole story that we're going into. Odysseus isn't the strongest Greek hero, but he's the smartest, and I think this is why they cast Matt Damon for this role, because he plays that smart-witted yet strong character so well. His defining traits are his intelligence, manipulation, strategy, persistence, curiosity, and adaptability. He's famous for solving problems instead of overpowering them, which is honestly the best military strategy out there. Christopher Nolan has described him as someone whose cleverness fascinated him so much that he wanted to make this film. So here are the main characters. Sorry if I messed some of these names up. Odysseus, king of Ithaca trying to return home. Penelope, his wife, waiting 20 years. Telemachus, who is his son, who barely knows his father, and that's Tom Holland. Athena, the goddess who helps Odysseus. Poseidon, he's the one who wants him dead. Circe, a powerful enchantress. Calypso, a mortal who keeps Odysseus from leaving. And the suitors, men attempting to marry Penelope while Odysseus is gone. So there's a lot of storylines and layers and plots going on at once, which Christopher Nolan is a mastermind and the best at that. The monsters all represent something. Don't think of them as like fantasy creatures. They typically always represent some sort of human struggle. Example, Cyclops is arrogant and brute force. Sirens is a temptation. Scylla and Cerberus is impossible choices. Lotus Eaters is forgetting your purpose. And Calypso, comfort that keeps you from growing. I love that. The story works on both the literal and symbolic level, which I think is why it's going to make this movie just incredible. It's supposed to be better than even Oppenheimer. If you've ever seen themes that I think Nolan is going to represent in this film based off of his other films and just his work in general is time, of course, which we have a 10-year gap in the story, identity, memory, sacrifice, family obsession, survival, and a moral code. We know that the story is encompassed around all of this with all of these characters, so I couldn't be more pumped. Once again, Odysseus isn't a perfect hero, and that's what I love about the story, is it's not your typical hero. Many of the disasters happen because of his own pride and decisions, and I think anyone on just like, I don't know, a humble human level can relate to that. This is Nolan's biggest production yet, and of course he's still shot on IMAX. The budget was around $250 million, making this near the same budget as Oppenheimer, or maybe even his largest yet. It's shot across multiple countries, which I enjoy for the authenticity, although it's getting a lot of hatred online for being completely opposite of that. But it's shot in Greece, Italy, Morocco, Iceland, Scotland, and Malta. And as a filmmaker, I kind of think that's the dream, is to film in all of those places. And I'm sure as an actor, that's also the dream, is just to be able to act abroad. They filmed it with real ships and on practical locations whenever possible. Nolan's always been a big fan of practicals and not bringing in CGI as much as possible, and that's one thing I love about Nolan. So in a world of AI, be a Christopher Nolan. This is the first feature film shot entirely on IMAX cameras only, using the new developed quieter cameras. So I'm anxious to see if there's any sort of like clarity lost or like any sort of resolution lost, but I doubt it. It's IMAX, for the love of God. For filmmakers like myself, this is what makes this story so exciting, is that it's also shot on this IMAX new camera. Let's go over the cast. The central cast includes Matt Damon as Odysseus, Anne Hathaway as Penelope, Tom Holland as Telemachus, Zendaya as Athena, Robert Pattinson as Antionis, John Berthenol, I don't know who he plays, but I'm excited that he's in this, and there's many more to name. If you're a filmmaker, I need you to pay attention to how Nolan stages huge practical action sequences. That's what I'm going to be paying attention to. The use of natural landscapes instead of using CGI is amazing, and like what I love about filmmaking, at least what people used to do a lot in filmmaking, similar to Lord of the Rings. I'm also pumped that Ludwig Göransson's score and how it supports the mythic tone, and he'll be back paired with Nolan on this film is going to be incredible. I think it suits well for this type of film. If you can, try to watch it in the best format as possible, but the formats available are IMAX 70mm, IMAX with laser, Dolby Cinema, and then your standard theater. It's sold out in the early demand in IMAX for 70mm a year in advance, so it's hard to even try to get tickets for that. We should go in expecting it not to be another Gladiator movie, not another Lord of the Rings, and nothing compared to Oppenheimer. Instead, you should expect a mythic adventure about perseverance, family, and the long road home. It's going to be filtered through Christopher Nolan's style of practical filmmaking and large-scale spectacle. It's going to be literally the biggest blockbuster of the year, so hopefully it lives up to the hype. For someone interested in cinematography and directing like myself, the Odyssey is likely to be as much of a filmmaking event as it is a storytelling one. Early reactions have praised its scale and craftsmanship, although it's gotten a lot of criticism for who has been casted. If that has ever been a case in movies previously, we would have nothing. So comment, good or bad, let me know what you think.